Hey all. So this is kind of an interesting one because I always try to do these videos directly after I see the film or pretty close to after. For various reasons that I'm not going to get into, I did not do this review right after the film. In fact, it's now 2 days removed. So this may be a bit more succinct than kind of my other reviews because I've had some time to mull it over and think about it. So this is a movie that's kind of hard to review. It's not review proof, but it's hard to review in that you get the feeling that the bad choices that were made, either the bad acting or the shifts in tone or whatever, you almost feel were done intentionally because the filmmakers were trying to make this not so much a horror film, but more, I guess, a horror comedy is the best way to put it. I don't know if that's actually a thing, but it seems like that's what they were going. They were going for more of a light-hearted kind of tone. I guess when you have a film with an odd hook, the whole, reliving a day over and over again, a horror movie that has that hook, I guess you can go two ways with it. You can go very serious with it, or you can go, the concept's absurd, so we may as well treat it absurdly. And so they went, we're going to go absurd with it. So the whole thing is done very tongue-in-cheek and done very kind of constantly winking at the camera. So much so, like, I kind of got that feeling like really early on. So the girl, if you've seen the trailer, I'm trying to get the sun out of everyone's eyes. If you've seen the trailer, you know that it's the girl keeps waking up every day after she's been murdered and relives the same day over and over and over again, and so on and so forth. So the dorm room of the geeky guy that she wakes up in every day has, in a very prominent spot, has a poster for Mystery Science Theater 3000, the movie. As if to say, this is what we're trying to do. We're not taking this seriously. We're, we know that this is absurd. Almost like they're trying to go with the, that line from the theme song, just repeat to yourself, it's just a show, I should really just relax. And sometimes that works for films, other times it doesn't, and I don't think it worked for this one. And I think mainly because if you're a fan of Mystery Science Theater, as I clearly am, it's my favorite show, you know that the movies, 90% of the movies that end up on there, they did not set out to make a bad movie. They were trying. They had limited budget. They had Z-list actors. They had, hand-me-down props and monsters and everything. But they were trying to make the best film they could. And the instances of the films that are truly horrible that are on there, things like Hobgoblins, that's a film where people were deliberately trying to make a bad movie and did not make an enjoyably bad movie, just made a bad movie. And I think that's what this one did. It tries to insert that tongue so hard into the cheek that any of the charm of it is really lost. I think the film this one most kind of reminds me of, or I think what they were trying to go for was Scream. And you can say what you want about Scream, and there's a lot you can say negative about it. But Scream did one thing incredibly well, and in that kind of 90s fashion, it balanced the sardonic meta humor and the ironic kind of look at horror movie tropes and all that with believable characters, enjoyable characters that you felt, you could know, that still fit the tropes, but still felt authentic. They let the serious characters be serious. They let the comic relief characters be comic relief, but still there's a weight to it. This film does not have the weight. As with all of these movies about somebody reliving the same day over and over and over again, because, this is not the first, I feel like I've seen this movie because I've seen it twice, 3 times now. You know, it's always about somebody who's kind of terrible learning a lesson, you know. And, you know, I'm not even going to compare this to Groundhog's Day, which is, again, this film is so trying to be so clever and meta. They mention Groundhog's Day at the end, you know. Anyway, the film that I'll compare this to is the other film about reliving the same day over and over and over again that came out this year, and that was Before I Fall. In both cases, the lead girl is, you know, supposed to be a bitchy girl and a brat and all that. But in Before I Fall, the character was much more believable. She wasn't quite the clearly being a parody of every sorority mean girl ever in her everyday performance. And because of that, it means that the scenes later on in the film, when she's trying to be good and trying to come back and trying to make amends with the people she's hurt, it doesn't have any weight to it. It doesn't feel like anything. You don't feel the change in her because the character is just a cartoon from the word go. She doesn't feel realistic. You know, so that's where the tongue-in-cheek thing doesn't work, and none of the other characters around her feel realistic. And not that there's anything wrong with doing a tongue-in-cheek and comedy horror film. There isn't. But I think when you're going with one with this tired of a premise, and yeah, I'm sorry, the repeating the day over and over and over again is a tired premise. Not just because of Groundhog's Day, to know what the first thing everybody thinks of, but because that idea of reliving the same day or the same hour or whatever has been done in science fiction so many times. And, you know, I can think of just off the top of my head, I know Star Trek The Next Generation did an episode of it. I know Stargate SG-1 did an episode of it. I believe The Twilight Zone did a couple episodes of it. So it's been done. And if you're going to pull it out, then that means you've got to offer something new. And that's where, again, this film kind of irritates me, is because there's a germ of a really good idea in this. In that... that they kind of give you in the trailer, somebody getting murdered each night and now having to solve their own murder, having to look at the clues, having to, you know, piece things together. And they skip over all that. It becomes they do a little montage of her, but it's a comedy again of her. Oh, there's my stage manager. Hi, Avery. Of her trying to solve the case, but she keeps getting murdered. But it's done for laughs. It's not done, seriously. And I think that was the only thing that would have made this film interesting, is that you have this idea and this concept, and you could have played with them more. I think also something that they never do before, it's always kind of hinted at in these films. It's never cleared up why. Why does this girl get to relive the same day over and over? You know, in Before I Fall, again, I'm not trying to praise Before I Fall. It was not a great movie, but I think it had more of a handle on what it was trying to do and what it was trying to say than this film did. And it's not to say that it said it well or that it was a great film when it all was said and done, but at least I think they had a direction they were going. You know, at least with Before I Fall, they were coming up with, they were kind of saying it was the wrong person was dying, and that the reason the girl kept living the same day over and over and over again is because she had to be the one to die. She had to make the conscious choice to save the other person, so the quote-unquote right person would die. So you at least get the sense of kind of why it's happening. Here, there's no, why does this girl get to live over and over again? Think of all the other murder victims in the world. Why don't they get to, start over again? Why her? And I think you had a chance there to kind of make maybe a new recurring murderer. My friend Matt really loves like the old school 80 horror films like Freddy and Jason and Chucky, And we were talking the other day about, they shouldn't make any more of these films. They need to stop. There shouldn't be any more Friday the 13th or Freddy movies. No reboots even. Find another high-concept killer. And they had a chance here to come up with, a killer that keeps killing you over and over and over again, until you find a way to defeat them. Is an interesting idea. And again, they just kind of spit on it. Or not spit on it, they just kind of, I don't know. This film is hard to hate. I don't want to make it come off like I hate this movie. Because I don't hate it. For the simple fact that it's too stupid and, forgettable to hate. There's no, you don't feel like there's any connection with anybody. And I will say that I think there are some decent acting moments in it. I think there are some decent... There's a decent-ish twist. I don't even want to call it a twist. It's not like a twist of lemon or anything. It's like one of those little sugar packets you get that gives you cancer that you put in your tea. That's more what it is. But there's a decent kind of story turn, I guess. Not even a twist. It's just kind of a U-turn. That it takes. But I don't think it's as good as it could have been. Again, especially if we were trying, if our goal here was to solve the mystery, and they never really make that a focus. But there's germs of good ideas in here. There's specks of decent performances, but none of it connects. None of it really, leaves you with any kind of impression. So I don't feel like getting off into any of the... No performance in this was good, but none of it was any worse than any other performance. They were all kind of equally good, badish. I don't know how to say it. It's also very neutral. This is the definition of a meh film, but it's definitely meh on the lower end. Like when I do my top 10 meh films of the year, I can almost guarantee this one's not going to be on it because it didn't offer you anything. It was a kind of a waste of time, to be honest. And I mean, not a waste of time you were mad at the end. I didn't hate. Like I said, I didn't hate this movie. I didn't come out of it like wishing every person involved with it would, never make another film. I just kind of came out of it going, okay, that was a thing that happened, that was dumb. So yeah, there's not much to say. It's just kind of there. So if you're a horror movie fan, you like these kind of things, okay, give it a shot. Everybody else, I mean, it's been out for a while. Came to this one late, so I mean, you probably already made the decision if you're going to see this one or not, so nothing I say is going to change it. It's got the hiccups, that's why I'm kind of stopping between each one. So yeah. So that's it. This is one of my shortest videos in a while, but again, I think that's what happens when you kind of let it stew for 2 days. You kind of get a more succinct and clear shot. You know what you want to talk about. You know what you don't really need to go into details with. So yeah, don't know what I'm seeing next. There's a lot out that I kind of want to see. It's more just kind of having to find the time. So, but I will be back with more. So until next time, drive safe, and I will see you at the movies.